Everyone knows the Titanic hit an iceberg. What they don't know is why that iceberg was there in the first place. The answer isn't bad luck, it isn't human error, it's astronomy. 3 months before the Titanic sank, the moon did something it only does once every 1,400 years. And that cosmic event put an iceberg in the exact spot where the Titanic would be, on the night of April 14th, 1912. This is the story they don't teach you. The story of how the universe killed 1,500 people. January 4th, 1912. While the Titanic is still under construction in Belfast, something extraordinary happens in space. The moon reaches its closest point to Earth in 1,400 years. At the exact same time, the sun and moon align, a phenomenon called syzygy. The result? The highest tide in recorded human history. Scientists call it a spring tide, but this wasn't just any spring tide. This was a once-in-a-millennium event. Here's what that means. Tides are caused by the moon's gravitational pull. The closer the moon, the stronger the pull. When the sun and moon align, their gravitational forces combine. When this happens at the moon's closest approach, the tides become catastrophic. In January 1912, ocean levels rose higher than anyone alive had ever seen. Coastlines flooded. But more importantly, something else happened. Something that would seal the fate of the Titanic 3 months later. In Greenland, glaciers that had been stuck for years suddenly broke free. The unprecedented high tides lifted icebergs that had been grounded in shallow water, icebergs that normally would never make it into the shipping lanes. These massive ice mountains, some the size of office buildings, were carried south by the Labrador Current, right into the North Atlantic shipping lanes, right where the Titanic would be sailing in April. Fast forward to April 14th, 1912. The Titanic is on her maiden voyage. It is percolating something proper, really humming along. Captain Smith knows there are icebergs in the area. He's received multiple warnings. But this is the North Atlantic in April. There are always some icebergs. Nothing unusual, except this year was unusual. Because of that January tide event, there weren't just some icebergs. There were hundreds. An entire armada of ice, all drifting south in positions they'd never been in before. At 11:40 p.m., Lookout Frederick Fleet sees it. An iceberg, dead ahead. He rings the warning bell. The ship turns, almost makes it. Almost. The iceberg tears a 300-foot gash along the starboard side. 6 compartments flood. The unsinkable ship has 2 hours to live. But here's the part that makes this a cosmic tragedy. If the Titanic had sailed just 1 day earlier or 1 day later, it would have missed that iceberg completely. The iceberg was only in that exact position because of ocean currents set in motion by the January tide event. Move the sailing date by 24 hours in either direction and 1,500 people live. It gets darker. After the Titanic sank, investigators tried to figure out why there were so many icebergs that year. Reports from other ships confirmed it. 1912 had an abnormally high number of icebergs in the shipping lanes, more than any captain could remember seeing. But nobody connected it to the January moon event. Not in 1912. The connection wasn't made until 2012, exactly 100 years later, when astronomers and oceanographers finally put it together. The moon killed the Titanic, and nobody knew for a century. Think about that. We built the largest, most luxurious ship in the world. We called it unsinkable. We filled it with the wealthiest people on Earth. And none of it mattered because 3 months earlier, the moon came too close. You can't engineer your way out of astronomy. You can't build a hull strong enough to stop cosmic forces. The Titanic wasn't sunk by hubris or human error, though those played a part. It was sunk by the universe putting an iceberg in the wrong place at the wrong time. Here's the terrifying part. We're still at the mercy of these forces. Spring tides still happen, icebergs still break free, and we're still putting ships full of people in waters we don't fully understand. In 2025, we have GPS, we have radar, we have satellites tracking every iceberg in the North Atlantic. But in 1912, They had lookouts with binoculars, staring into the darkness, hoping to see danger before it was too late. Frederick Fleet saw the iceberg 37 seconds before impact. That's how much warning they had. 37 seconds to turn a ship the length of 3 football fields. It wasn't enough. It was never going to be enough. The Titanic didn't sink because of arrogance, though the builders were arrogant. It didn't sink because of speed, though the ship was going too fast. It sank because in January the moon got too close, because tides rose higher than they had in 1,400 years, because icebergs floated into shipping lanes where they'd never been before, and because on the night of April 14, 1912, the Titanic was in the exact wrong place at the exact wrong time. 1,500 people died because of the moon. And for 100 years, nobody knew. Now you do. If you want more history that changes everything you thought you knew, subscribe. And let me know in the comments, does knowing this change how you see the Titanic disaster? Because it should. Sometimes history isn't about choices. Sometimes it's about the universe deciding your fate before you even knew you were in danger. Pretty chilling, right?